I still feel like sometimes I'll walk into rooms full of women and I still feel very isolated.
Really?
And now I'm starting to wonder, like, is it more intrinsic of me, like internal, that I feel kind of lonely, or is it after like 6-7 years of being in a space that's been so male dominated that I've lost that muscle to kind of like connect to women?
And I'm super excited to welcome Angelina today. Welcome.
Hi everyone, really excited to be here.
Amazing.
For some background, I've been at Amazon for 3 years now, actually about to celebrate in July. Before that, actually touched a couple of other industries. So was at a company that was under the DOE, which was really fun. Worked in IoT, went to cybersecurity, and now working on products to make Amazon Marketplace a safer place for all of us to shop on.
Oh my God, so cool. Which one was your favorite?
None so far because none have given free food.
I know, Amazon's kind of frugal.
Yeah. During COVID, they gave free coffee, so that was really nice, like artisan coffee, so I guess that counts.
Oh,
yeah.
man. Oh, man. I can't relate. I'm used to the free food, so.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because I'm out of this founder co-working space, like, they give us food here, and I'm like, I'm literally living the starving artist dream. Like, I'm a founder, but I still get to pretend I'm kind of in a big tech company because I get to eat food and not pay for it.
Yeah, I feel like, well, also because I haven't really explored startups much until the last couple of years, but I feel like this is a whole new wave of like startup support. I feel like there's just a whole like really comfortable cushion for everyone to fall on and support and community. Didn't it exist before?
Yeah, and I think it's super rare and unique to SF. I think when I was living in New York for the past few years, I felt like I was missing that. There was definitely this very vibrant hustler energy that was very motivating for me, but I was very much lacking the support and resources to make it happen. And it was pretty lonely. It's ironic because it's New York. You're like this like little sea of people trying to do the same stuff that I'm trying to do. But I felt almost lost in that sea. Whereas SF is so small and there's like the startup ecosystem so intimate. I feel like I know so many people in it now, and I actually feel very supported and comforted by my community. And honestly, that's kind of like very critical to success, right?
Yeah. Do you feel like you're supported by the community in general, or is it also by like, have you found more women in tech here that you've been able to vibe with?
Yeah, for sure. I think that just having other women in tech around you often is tough. I mean, I'm sure you know this. I do feel like it's a higher likelihood of me finding that in SF, but we're going to change that. We need them everywhere.
Yes.
Well, tell me more about that. How's it been like for you, just being a woman in tech? Has that been something that has been more really like an issue for you, especially working at a company as big as Amazon, right? I know they have a lot of amazing engineers, female engineers there.
Yeah, I have not honestly come across enough for me to feel like it's equal. It still very much feels like a male-dominated industry. But it's been getting better. So, for example, yesterday I went to an event that was hosted by like a women in engineering community. And that was really great. I think there was probably about like maybe somewhere between 20 to 30 women engineers who showed up. So I'm starting to see like more support there. And even though, I mean, in the last 6 years, every year, every company is like, we need more DEI efforts. Slowly. But still feels odd. Like I still feel like sometimes I'll walk into rooms full of women and I still feel very isolated.
Really?
And now I'm starting to wonder, like, is it more intrinsic of me, like internal, that I feel kind of lonely, or is it after like 6-7 years of being in a space that's been so male dominated that I've lost that muscle to kind of like connect to women?
Wait, wow, that's so interesting. I haven't thought of that. It's funny because I've also similarly been in tech for a while, specifically been in big tech, and I have definitely felt what you're describing, but I think because I've basically built the Gen Chi community on the side with my job and like really nurtured that through the time. I almost like had this like secondary community to go to after work, where I was practicing and building those deep connections with other women outside of work, and almost like was able to flex like two muscles. And so it's interesting to hear this other perspective.
Yeah. I guess kind of a story about this. I went to a hackathon either last week or 2 weeks ago, I can't remember. And my like co-hackathoner was also a woman in tech, a female in tech. And it was so interesting because there were more layers to the actual hackathon than I think most people approached. And it wasn't until after I shared with like my male friends and stuff like that they were like, whoa, this all went through your head for like a fun hackathon. And things that we considered were like, how should we show up? Like, how should we be dressed for this hackathon?
Yeah.
Like, we felt like we had to kind of over prepare because we were worried that if we were one of the few women in the room and we underperformed or like didn't deliver something by the end of the day, it would be reinforcing of whatever stereotypes there were. And that was like really nerve wracking. We actually prepped like 3 days in advance for this hackathon.
That's a lot of pressure. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you like hackathons? Do you think they're fun?
Yeah, I think they're fun. I think it's still like, you know, we still like to build and stuff, but definitely a lot of pressure to, it feels like an extended interview kind of with a bigger audience.
I mean, how many hackathons have you been to? Like, how often do you go to them?
I've been to, honestly, I haven't been to any since I graduated until this one. Yeah, so it was like very new foray.
Yeah, I feel like there's like 2 reasons we go to hackathons. We're like, we need to build portfolio experience to get a job.
Yeah.
So this is a great way to hack the way through that. Or, oh shit, we're having a career crisis.
Yeah.
We need to build our own things in the world.
Yeah.
So no better place to do that than at a hackathon, right? And I think a lot of my like guy friends will go to hackathons for fun.
Yeah.
It's not to build their portfolio or to like potentially start a company. They're like, sounds lit. Like, like what better way to spend my weekend? And I feel like I get a little bit jealous of that, right? Because what's fun for them, they're actually like learning new skills, like building that muscle and creating more friendships in that community. That's just the creating the flywheel in their life of like basically re-encouraging them to continue to stay in that community, continue building. And then that's where like in these moments is where they like build really great ideas and then they build them to these like billion-dollar companies, right? Yeah. And I feel like, and I have never been to a hackathon. Can you imagine that? And I basically built this, you could say it was a hackathon for women, you know, in the very early days of Genshi. And I couldn't call it a hackathon. I was like, if I call it a hackathon, all these girls are going to like not come. They're going to be like, I don't want to go to a hackathon. So I called it a make-a-thon.
Oh, interesting.
But but all these girls still built insane projects and many of them coded.
Oh my God.
And that's basically a hackathon, right? And it was funny how like when I rebranded that and made it more exciting and enticing and like, I'm going to come to this weekend, not for the sake of like putting something on my portfolio, but like just have fun and like make friends, which is, I think, the right reason to go to a hackathon, right?
But that's incredible. Oh my gosh, like the sense of awareness that you had to know that like if you labeled it a hackathon, it would kind of scare away your demographic, and to rebrand that so simply and see that executed well, that's amazing.
Thanks. I mean, hopefully one day I can call it a hackathon. That's the goal, right? Yeah. Wait, so you're exploring the startup world. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, it's really been like the Wild West. So for some context, I'm pretty sure I can share it on here. I'm trying to explore new opportunities outside of my big tech background. And it's been anywhere between talking to people and entertaining like CTO positions, being a founding engineer, being like, you know, first 10 set of engineers, things like that. And it's all been like really, really fun, incredibly fun, because you feel the energy of the company from like person zero, right? You're usually talking to the CEO if you're going to be the CTO, or you're talking to like CEO and CTO if you're like first couple of engineers, and just their spirit, the spirit that they embody, or sometimes even the lack of, is like extremely telling. And I'm still, you know, I've only been doing this for about a month or so, talking to all these founders, but I think it is already such a strong signal if you trust in the founder or not. And it's like, that's it. I don't really need to hear about the tech stack or about like what it is you're trying to build. Like, do I trust in you as a person to execute well and to lead me and for me to like fall back on? Yeah, that's been fun. I've learned a lot about the interview processes, or kind of the lack of. Today I actually was on a call with a CEO, and it was basically three co-founders and then I think one advisor, which was really interesting. And he was looking for founding engineers. And he was like, oh, my interview process is basically you're going to work with us for 2 weeks. I'm going to give you a feature. You're going to develop it. You're going to come to the office, you know, in some sort of hybrid mode. We can figure that out. But I want you to work next to me for 8 hours a day. See how quickly you produce, see how well, you know, like how well you integrate with the team. And at the end of 2 weeks, we'll either give you an offer or not. I was like, well, that's really fun, and not like leak code style, you know, like 100 blocks. Yeah.
Wait, but that's a huge signal, like green flag, that you think that's fun, because we have a similar interview process, by the way. It's very standard for startups, which is, I think there's a lot of backlash actually from two founders when we tell people, oh, we want you to spend 2 weeks of your life. They're like, we don't have 2 weeks of life to like give to you to like do an interview. It's like, immediate red flag. It's like to join a startup, to be part of a founder's like vision for how they want to change the world. Like you have to take a huge leap of faith and take a bet on them, exactly like what you were saying, right? And so 2 weeks out of your life to explore like a big bet you're trying to make, that seems reasonable, right? So like the right person is like, yes, done, you know, and that's how we've hired everyone on our team. And but it's a hard thing to do, right? Because you have to really find that person who is going to take the time. And if it's not a good fit for you and if it's not authentic, don't take those 2 weeks. Right? Yeah. Like that isn't a good time, use of time actually, right? So it's a really great way to like find good fit. And it's really cool that you're like taking that. So did you end up doing that those 2 weeks?
We have one more follow-up call next week, and then I think we're going to move forward. But our call actually ended up running over. And so I had so many more questions about the business before I kind of wanted to jump in. But I already got really good signal from him. He was like super excited. We had similar kind of ideas. Like I was asking him about the roadmap and like basically proposing what I would put on it. And then he was like, oh yeah, those are exactly what's on our roadmap. And then we kind of played like pros and cons. So that was really fun.
Cool.
Yeah. Also just like way more fun being able to think about things from a product perspective than kind of like as an IC engineer, you're just given tasks, you execute, you deliver, you're like, all right, next one.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be a founding engineer at a company without having that product intuition. So, like, makes sense that he's asking your questions. And also, like, it makes sense that you're looking for a role like that because you do have a lot of that intuition. Like, even when we talked last time, I was like, yeah, this girl is way more than an engineer. Like, she knows her stuff for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
So did you already tell Amazon? When are you planning to tell Amazon? Yeah, what's your plan? We're very curious because this seems like a almost done deal.
Yeah. So I've been looking for about three-ish weeks now. It's been interesting. I actually plan to take really extended leave, and I had told my manager a couple of times that I was entertaining other options. Actually asked them to lay me off, and this has been very sensitive, and I feel safe sharing with you, and I guess eventually people will hear, but I actually asked to be laid off because I wanted a cushion, and I just felt like I couldn't handle the 9 to 5. But that did not happen.
You can't get laid off even if you ask, I guess.
I think they're like, if you're going to leave, you're going to leave. Why would we pay you like severance? You know?
They're like, sorry, you can't trick us there.
Yeah. In fact, I probably should have asked for a raise so that they would.
Seriously.
You know. Yeah.
You're like, give me a raise or I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
And then quit anyways.
Yeah. But no, so sorry. Short answer is they don't know, but they're very aware that I'm looking for other opportunities, but I don't think they really know how quickly I'm moving.
Yeah. Well, on them, they're gonna lose you. I don't know. Okay, cool. So, like, curious, like, about this company. Like, what was the first green flag for you before you were like, I'm gonna do the 2 weeks?
So this is really interesting, and I'm curious, like, what your sentiments are about this. A recruiter actually reached out to me. So a recruiter/friend reached out to me and was like, hey, I actually worked with these previous co-founders at my previous startups, and I have immense faith for them, and they're looking for founding engineers. They came across your resume and want to talk to you. And I initially actually turned it down because I was like, I don't think I'm ready for this. I'm really nervous. Oh, wow. Like I don't feel like I can build like the first product from scratch, and I would feel so guilty if the company went under and all the seed funding, whatever, like did not amount to anything because of me. So there was still like a lot of lack of confidence there. And so we had like an extended conversation, and she kind of bolstered me up, from the angle that like a lot of people don't feel ready, and a lot of men never really feel ready, but they jump into it and they have that growth mindset that they're going to grow into it. And then she encouraged me to talk to the founder. And I think it wasn't until today's conversation that I was like, oh, I feel so excited and I feel the same spirit that I'm kind of willing to take a bet on it, especially if I can show through 2 weeks of work if we're a good match or not. Yeah. But yeah.
No, good on you for taking a bet on them, taking a bet on yourself. I think that a lot of what holds women from really reaching like a lot of success is that like risk averse mindset. Yeah. Like you got to take big risks to get big rewards. It's the classic tale of all time, right? So it's like really hard in practice. Like it took me 3 years to quit my job and go do the hard thing of building Junchi. I knew I wanted to do this in college. I literally started then. Like, this is no secret that I'm like building this now. And I don't regret my time in Big Tech for those 3 years. I mean, I learned so much about the world and myself. And I mean, I really enjoyed my time there. But I always wonder, like, Was I there for that reason? Probably not. I probably wasn't smart enough in that moment to realize that value I was getting. I think I was just too scared to take that leap.
Yeah. I mean, it's so safe too. It's like where 99% of the world is trying to reach, right? And you've reached it, especially like right out of college. You're kind of like, well, I already made it to the golden top.
Yeah. So like for other women out there who like want to join a startup and are like currently in big tech, like what advice do you have for them to navigate that?
Oh, this is interesting, and I don't know if this applies to everyone, but I think about a year ago, I tried to think really far into the future, and it was like when I'm, even when I'm like 35 and probably I'll have children and probably my time will be more compromised, what work opportunities or work experiences do I wish I would have pursued? And I think there was always an itch in the back of my mind to like build something and to own something and to have a lot of ownership and to understand a problem end to end. And I think for a while, I kind of like you, I convinced myself that big tech was enough because I got to touch like this piece here, and sometimes I got to talk to like a stakeholder there. But I guess like if you had to put a framework on it, there's this thing called like a regret minimization framework, and that's kind of what I chose to adopt. I was like, I think I would really regret not taking this big swing. And right now we have the most energy for it. We have the most opportunities, no dependencies, things like that. Time is on your side. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I literally had the exact same mindset, so I totally get that. I think what's hard is not being convinced that like now is the best time.
Yeah.
Like when you're in your 20-somethings with like, I mean, it's pretty. I'm pretty easily able to convince someone like, yeah, in the future it will be harder, right? But I think what's really hard is like, okay, well now what? What is that like first step I need to take, right? Like it's so confusing, and it's not that like this first step you take is like the first step everyone should take.
Yeah.
But I guess like what was the first step you took, anyways?
I think I talked to a lot of people. Like even our conversation 2 weeks ago was like it really stuck with me. I was like, wow, here's Avni. She's like younger. She's so I don't know, like so charismatic, so what's the word here? Like so. Sorry, I'm blanking. Just like so adept at what you can do, or so is that the right word? So adept, so capable.
That is very sweet.
Yeah,
so
and that was so inspiring. Sorry, I blanked out because I was like,
no, we can
so
edit it out. It
words.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, so capable at everything you're doing, and you're younger than me. I know we talked about that. So I was like, I feel like there's no reason for me to not do this. And I think you inspire me a lot too, because I'm 28, by the way, for everyone listening. I wish I had done this way sooner. Like, I think there's just way less risk involved every year, detracted from where you are now. And if things fail, you're in your late 20s, you can go back to big tech, go back to something safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I truly believe failure is impossible at this point. Like, if you're going to, like, go and try to build something from 0 to 1, that is admirable no matter what you do next. Yeah. It's not failure. Like, we need to stop looking at it that way. And I also believe that if you, like, fully look into the future and you don't accept a plan B, you don't accept failure as a possibility, well, you're just going to keep trying every single day, and you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if I don't take the shot, like, I will inherently miss it. So I have to, by definition, take that.
Yes.
And just literally wake up every day and try till I am not a failure one day.
Yeah.
So I think, like, it's so a mindset thing. And the first step is actually just, like, I guess adopting that mindset and, like, having those conversations, like you said.
That is, like, the fundamental definition of a growth mindset. And I think it's, like, so easy to overlook because people conflate it with, like, oh, she's being overly optimistic or she's being naive, whatever. But I think truly that is the definition of a growth mindset and what every leader needs to have to be successful.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, like, did you, like, reach out to people? Like, what did you do?
Yeah, I had a lot of I reached out to a lot of people. What else would I do? Honestly, just sharing my story and sharing that I was searching and looking for something smaller. I think a lot of people actually came out of the woodwork. Also, would like just scrape Y Combinator's website and just look at every startup that was hiring, reached out to them, told friends, and so they would connect me with people who are hiring. Yesterday, some girl introduced me to an event called like Where My Founders From or something, and that was like a network of people looking for co-founders. That's really fun. Yeah.
No, actually, I think talking about things everywhere all the time is actually the fastest and surest way to get what you want. Like, you're just increasing the odds of serendipity at that point. And a lot of these really great things that happen in our life boil down to serendipity, and serendipity is totally something you can manufacture. And literally, and the act of telling all your friends is literally optimizing for that serendipity.
Yeah. And I think also us being in San Francisco is actually so advantageous.
So true.
You can walk into a room and suddenly you're surrounded by five founders who you didn't even know were founders because they're dressed so normally. You share your story, and actually this happened to me a couple weeks ago. I was at a networking event talking to a girl. We shared like both of our passions for internet safety, and at the end she was like, "Hey, do you want to be my co-founder?" And at that point, I wasn't ready. But again, I was like, wow, the barrier to entry is actually way lower than I expected. I thought you had to be like a magical unicorn to be given these opportunities.
No, not at all. I mean, it's so interesting, actually, like our conversation when we were chatting, like I was like riffing off like a million thoughts. Yeah. And you were just like, boom, got it. Like makes sense. Like riffing off me. And I was like, wow, this is like a very magical moment where I've met someone who like understands what I'm trying to do in the world, because I think I talk about what I do a lot, and like people don't play off what I'm like, what are you saying? Like you're just saying random things. So you make videos, great. Like it's like, so what's your job? Like, you know, so that was interesting. But I also think it's really cool that you're a content creator on the side, and you have a TikTok
That's
account.
how we met.
Yeah, I DM'd you on TikTok. Literally, that works, you guys. Actually, surprisingly. So like, why do you make content? Like, what excites you about that?
Well, first of all, I guess that kind of segues into today, which is International Women in Engineering Day.
I know. I literally feel so like happy and excited about that. Which, by the way, we did not plan this. It just happened that way. So. I love that for us.
Yeah. But I guess it's kind of like, you know, the age-old story of wanting to show more representation in the industry and talk about people, or like show a face of someone who didn't come from traditional backgrounds. I grew up as an immigrant, first gen. Also didn't graduate with a CS degree, did pre-med, and then ended up getting a CS minor. So a bunch of these things. Also grew up like really, really poor. So a bunch of these things I thought were still lacking in representation in the industry, and it's always just better to have like another face to have girls to look up to. Because I mean, I think with every year DEI efforts are here, but they don't really seem to be improving. I think actually if you look at McKinsey's like Women in the Workplace report, it's
going down. Actually.
Yeah, it's going down. Yeah. So I just felt like it was important. I also have a little sister, and sometimes I think about that. It sounds kind of cliche, but I think about the younger girls who really lack inspiration when they look at this industry, and it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I have a sister. Like, I feel like it totally is a reason why I do what I do, and her and like every other person in the community, like a lot of them are younger than me. I do kind of feel like they're all like my little sisters, even though I don't have like that intimate connection. But like when you get like one comment on a video, you're like, oh my God, this totally inspired me to like go and get this job, or like give me the confidence to go and talk to this person. Like that, I'll make 10 more videos tomorrow. Like that's a hella stamina for me. Super motivating, right?
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah. So cool. So tell us more about like the earlier days of, you know, why did you want to be an engineer in the first place? Like, what was that first moment where like, this could be a cool job?
So very long-winded story. I actually entered college as a mechanical engineer because at that point, I was so short-sighted, and all I wanted to do was learn how to build like an Iron Man bot or Transformers.
No.
Yeah, that was it. I was like, I really have no direction. I really didn't know. For my college, we had to pick a major. So I was like, all right, Mechie, here we go.
What college did you go to?
Cal Poly SLO.
Okay. Oh my God, my best friend went there. So I love that campus.
Yeah,
so pretty.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, very quickly realized that, you know, a fun side project is not what I should be dedicating my entire, formal education to. And so I switched into pre-med because I thought that like I always had the spirit of wanting to help people and wanting to, I don't know, be altruistic and give back and have something, make my life feel very meaningful and my contributions to society feel very meaningful. So went into pre-med, but very quickly realized that I did not enjoy the coursework. Very grueling, time intensive. I was really scared about the debt, to be honest, as well. I couldn't imagine like 10 years of med school loans. So in
very real.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's very scary.
So in my fourth year, actually, like my graduation year, 1 quarter in, I ended up taking an an IT like side job. So I was writing SQL queries all day, and I actually thought it was really, really fun.
No way.
Yeah.
That's wow. Okay. That's so random. I just did not expect the story to go there.
Yeah, I like really just needed more money. I was worried. I don't know. I just wanted to pick up another side job. So I started writing SQL queries, and I was like, wait, this is actually really beautiful. You can manipulate data. It felt kind of poetic in a way. I also always loved English and grammar and stuff.
It's like the perfect combination between words and numbers.
Yeah. And I think I got really lucky in liking that because I know a lot of people don't think of SQL as like a fantastic or a really interesting programming language. But from there, I was like, wow, I really like this. Let's take a class. There's no pain. I'm about to graduate anyway. Took a 101 course, fell in love with it. It was in Python. And then immediately just tried to switch over. So I ended up getting basically an internship, a 6 month, was it 6 months? Yeah, a 6 month internship at Lawrence Livermore National Labs as a computation intern, and just like hauled ass. Took a quarter off, basically took my spring quarter off, and was basically doing my 9 to 5 at Lawrence Livermore, was waitressing in the evenings on the weekends, and then I think it was Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 10 p.m. or 6 to 9 p.m. I forget the window. I would drive an hour south to De Anza in San Jose and take my comp sci like 102 course so that I could stay on track.
No way, that's insanely badass.
Yeah.
How in the world did you do all of that? That is so many things.
Yeah, it was a lot of hustle.
It would take me a lifetime to do all those 3 things.
Yeah, but I think it was like, again, like that like grit that I realized that my upbringing and like my background had kind of instilled in me, the grit and the spirit and like really the drive to need to not fail.
I mean, you got to make it. Like,
yeah,
there's no option for you, right?
Yeah,
like, and that's totally real.
Yeah, failure feels like equivalent of death, especially at that time, right? When you had nothing to your name. Now it's a little different. Like now, if I don't get a job interview, that's fine. Back then, it was very
because
scary.
you built a name for yourself.
Yeah,
now, like your name is your fallback.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And when you don't have that, it's a lot scarier. That's real.
Yeah.
No, that's. I mean, that's a really inspiring story.
Mm-hmm.
I can't relate to that necessarily, but I do understand this moment of grit where it's like when you unlock something that like makes sense for you, you're like, you see a path forward, you kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It gives you like 6 years of energy in like a few months.
Yes.
And I relate to that because I had a similar moment where it's funny. I'm gonna now I'm gonna go into my story.
Yeah, I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
When I was a freshman year, I was building these like giant digital art and tech installations, and I was like, "That's what I want to do for the rest of my life." And I kind of the same moment, I was like, "Wait, that's not a job." Yeah. I just build these my max peak in life would be if I made something for Coachella.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't want to be known for that. Actually, I just like there's so much more I want to see in the world. So I was like, "What do I do now?" So I got into like understanding what product management was. Obviously, like at that point in time, like there weren't that many product managers, and there was also this like stigma that you had to be an engineer first to be a product manager. And so I was like, this was junior in my college, and I was like, great, well, I don't have a CS degree, so I just gotta like in a few months get like a software engineering internship at a big tech company to prove that I am technical. So I can, because you only get one summer after your junior before you're gonna get your full time. So I was like, I literally have to do this now. Like I had to get a job internship yesterday. So you're like, okay, literally insane adrenaline pumps you through those few months. You're like, it kind of feels like a do or die situation and that like feeling and that stamina that comes when you really see like a very clear path that makes sense for whatever you're feeling in that moment. And you're like, if I get that, it will solve all my problems. And in the moment you think that, and obviously we learned later that it's like I'm on board in life. But in that moment, like I it sounds like you're like you did literally 3 jobs and you had like every day was like 3 days for you. Yeah. But you know, when you have the energy and you have the grit, like you get it done.
Dude, it's exhilarating. Did you ever go to bed like thinking about it and then realize you woke up with a dream about whatever you were filming?
Oh yes, and I don't think I really slept ever. I was like coding in my dreams, basically.
Yeah.
It's not even coming from a place of passion, to be honest. It's coming from a place of delirium.
But I feel like that really shows that you're like cut from a different cloth in a good way. Like you're meant to be in Silicon Valley if you dream about solving like algorithms.
And like my life could not be further from writing code right now, but like it is definitely the reason I am sitting here today for sure. It's crazy because you can't. track that path in that moment. You have no idea what stone's going to lead you to the next, but like you gotta take that step, because if you don't, you're never going to get to the next one. And it's so hard to know, but like trusting that intuition. And that's basically what you did. You're like, well, I recognize I like this thing. I need to double down on it. That's everything.
Do you feel like, had you, let's say like you hadn't gotten that internship at in your third year, like what would have been a different version of success there?
Oh my God, I have no idea, but there's no chance everything I've done would have happened. Like, I definitely landed like a position as a product manager, as a new grad, a part of an APM program, because I had that name brand software engineering internship on my resume. Like, there's only like a few companies that recruit a few people a year. I was the only one hired that year. So like this was super competitive.
Amazing.
Like you needed that like extra edge to get in. So I for sure know I would not have landed that job. And if I didn't land that job, I don't think I would have been content and fulfilled in my corporate life to explore outside of that. It felt like for me to find fulfillment and understanding what it was like to have a job and be happy with it was my stepping stone to go and do my own thing. That plus like a lot of the mission and motivation behind Genchi came from my time as an engineer, being the only female on my team and struggling through that and realizing that I really wanted to solve that problem. So like Genchi wouldn't have been born. I wouldn't have been felt fulfilled in my career. I'd probably be still like kind of like figuring out what I need to do. Maybe I still wouldn't even be a product manager yet. And I'm still trying to like get that goal or that dream, right? So it's funny how just those few months of unwavering focus and relentless pursuit, I kind of like paved this path that like really makes sense for me. And like, I'm sure I would have been successful in a different way, but like I would not be the person I am today. Like the world would look very different for me. So yeah, I don't really want to know what that would have been like. To be honest, I'm really happy with that journey. But what about you? Like, what do you think would have happened if you didn't take that IT job?
That's so funny.
Like, tell me alternate Angelina.
Yeah, alternate universe. That's so funny because I'm kind of in the same like wavelength where I couldn't imagine failure. You know, I was like, whatever it takes, I'm gonna do or die.
I mean, you cannot have a plan B. If you have a plan B, plan A will not happen. So I get it. The only way to make crazy shit happen is like literally delusion that there is no other plan or path.
Honestly, probably I would have, graduated with pre-med, wouldn't have done my CS degree. But I think we are in a very lucky stage, and we've been in a very lucky phase of the tech industry where there are like so many different unconventional backgrounds. And probably I would have still tried to break in, or maybe I would have done like a boot camp. And for those of you, like those listening, I think there are ways to break into tech without even doing those types of, segues. So when I was still in my pre-med background and I had taken one 101 course, I actually was able to get an internship with Apple. And it was kind of like tech adjacent. So it was with like their hardware healthcare devices. So kind of leveraging like my bio background and literally the one CS class I took. But they were willing to build on that. And so I think like maybe I still would have tried really hard to break in if I, didn't get it that first time, would have tried other ways to just break into tech.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you would have. I mean, so cool that you worked at Apple.
Oh, I didn't. I turned that down, unfortunately, because I'm dumb. I turned that down for my Lawrence Livermore job, mostly because Apple needed a 9-month commitment and Lawrence Livermore needed a 6-month. And in that time, I feel like in school, you're just like, wow, every month counts. Like, I need to graduate on time. All my friends are graduating on time.
Yeah.
Every quarter is like more loans. If I could go back, I definitely would have taken more time to understand how much company stamps on your resume make a difference.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think like I probably would have done something similar. I think in that moment, like being with your friends, everything. But I do think that like the younger generation, especially people in school right now, are realizing that school is not how you make it. Actually, it's the experience you get on your resume. It's like where you work and what you build that actually takes you to the next stage of your life. And I see so many more people taking gap semesters, gap years, and embracing that and being like, hey, actually, like if I graduate a semester late, I'll be way more ahead. And like they're like betting on their long-term success. Yeah. So that's a really interesting shift. I was definitely not that smart.
Yeah, me too.
So me too. I'm glad they're smarter than us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so after that internship, so you went back to school, finished up, and then what?
And then got my first full-time job in Silicon Valley. Moved up here, did a year at Siemens. So they were basically building out their software like department here, trying to get into IoT. So a lot of like cloud computing, which was very relevant in, what was that, like 2017. So that was really fun. Stayed there for a year and then actually moved to something much smaller. Moved to like a 250 person startup, was there for 2 years. And then during the pandemic, decided to try big tech and just find something a little more stable.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. That's smart. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so you've been in SF this whole time?
Yeah, for 6 years.
Do you like SF?
I think it brings like an unprecedented amount of opportunity. Like literally, you know, everyone that you probably will need to know to be successful is in San Francisco. You can attend any networking event all throughout the week, even weekends. There's always a hackathon going on. So that's really fun. I will say, and I'm sure a lot of people say this, like SF is quite homogenous in its culture and in its groupthink. And it's harder than I would expect actually to find like differentiated thought with so many smart people. I think everyone's just like, oh, they're so smart. And that makes sense to me. But we forget that we all think in the same patterns because we've been surrounded in this bubble.
Yeah, no, that's real. I actually lived in New York for 2 years. After living in SF for a few years for that exact reason. I was like, I need diversity of perspective. I need to, for one moment in my life, like talk to people who think differently from me because I grew up in the Bay Area too. So like that homogenous culture was like a part of literally when I was born. I was like, I need a break. I need to breathe there. And here I am back. And yeah, like of course New York's way better. Like it's so much more fun, obviously. But like that unprecedented opportunity.
Yeah.
And everyone says, right, it's like you only have one defining decade. You're only in your 20s once. So, like, got to make the most of it. And there's basically two ways to think about it, right? You can, like, optimize for work or you can optimize for life, right? Like, I'm a huge proponent of, like, there's no such thing as work-life balance. I really don't believe in it. I do believe that at different points of your life, you can optimize for different things. Like, you can optimize for work in a certain part of your life and then, like, family in another or whatever. So I was like, you know what? New York's not running away. Like, New York's going to be here forever. I can go and, like, live my, like, hot girl summer. Whatever I want. I can do that when I'm 45. Probably have way more money. Maybe have a house in the Hamptons. Like, probably a better hot girl summer. But right now, like, you definitely don't get your 20s back for building the momentum of your career for the rest of your life.
Yes, totally.
And then especially if you want babies, like let's not pretend that that's not going to take up our day. And then we are at a disadvantage at the time. But right now we got none. Not right now we're at equal footing and I want to like make the most of that. So I was like, well, we're coming back to San Francisco. I guess.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, thought pattern is very clear, very straightforward.
Yeah. So do you want to live in SF forever? Like what do you think?
I was actually just talking about this with a friend and it's kind of scary because, you know, right now I'm trying to go for a startup and I actually prefer in-person culture. And so, you know, the conversation is like, I'm 28, turning 29. I'm going to probably have to stay with the startup for minimum 5 years, assuming it does well and I believe in it. So if that's the case, I'm going to be here until I'm like 34 and probably at that point, family's been established. But, you know, I would love to get out of this bubble. I would love to like even live abroad, like expose my kids to international life, just get them more cultured that way. I've never lived in the Midwest, but I've heard you get good bang for your buck there. I heard Tennessee's really hot.
You gotta do that and let me know how it is.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a future where I would be here for a really long time, but I don't know. I'm kind of like you. I feel like there is no work-life balance, and I'm having a hard time thinking outside of the box of like when I would stop prioritizing work.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, this is like take this with a grain of salt. Obviously, is like I do believe in person is really important. I don't believe that a startup needs to have their team in person for like the higher duration that you'd be there. I do agree that you have to be there at least minimum 5 years to really get the return on that opportunity. And remember, there's no plan B. So yes, startup will be successful because you're going to make it successful.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so that's going to happen. And we're going to manifest that. Yeah. So knowing that the startup's going to be successful, knowing you're going to be there for a while, I don't think you should say no to like maybe leaving SF if you want, or like building your family in a different city. Yeah. Whatever is best for you, right? Like maybe SF is actually best for you and you stay here. But I really do believe, and right now for the next couple of years, like you will be in SF and it does make sense to be in person. But I really do think that like companies grow and like you don't really need that face-to-face unless you're very in the early stages of building. And I do think remote culture, and specifically the companies that adopt remote culture, are going to win at the end of the day. So very quickly, your startup will probably realize that they can only get the best talent if they're open to like anyone working from anywhere. And so if, you know, at some point, if most of the companies are remote anyways, then you just be remote, you know?
Yeah,
so
interesting. Do you believe in that at any scale of company, any size?
Remote culture?
Yeah.
Not at any scale. Okay. I think, so my team is remote. We're in the very early stages. I think it would be ideal if we were in person for this early time, but I do believe that it's better for us to be remote because my team is spectacular and phenomenal. And the reason why I was able to, you know, work with them is because I was open-minded to the fact that like they didn't want to like, you know, move here. And because I kind of don't have like a one spot that I need to be, now I'm more open to traveling and opportunities actually come my way, and I have more open mindset to grabbing those opportunities.
Oh, awesome.
As a founder, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, me being a little bit ever, especially because I'm building a community first ecosystem, especially like that is probably a little bit different than also a software company. Yeah. But ultimately, every software company needs to build a community around it. And so the founder needs to like have an ever present like base in like the world if they truly want this to be something that everyone in the world uses. Yeah. So I do think that it's better for in person in the beginning. However, if you don't eventually adopt your teams very fast to that remote culture, especially having like the founder be like kind of like ever present across different like ecosystems, I do think that's like not going to be good for like long-term success.
Okay.
Yeah, but what are your thoughts? I mean, I don't know the right answer.
Honestly, I think as an employee, I would love to be more remote. I actually appreciate hybrid. Sorry, let me retract that. I appreciate hybrid. I think there's a lot of culture that gets built when you're in person. And maybe this is just after like being at Amazon for 3 years and like I met my manager once last year. I've never met any of my teammates.
No way.
Yeah, and it kind of feels a little, I don't know, a little separated. Like when someone leaves the team, I'm like sad, but I don't feel that like that core sadness when a friend, you know, is like departing. And so I'm missing that, but I know everyone is different. So not everyone wants like a family from their workplace.
No, I think what you said actually, hybrid is what I would think I mean. I think I say remote because I feel like when I say remote, like as a team, every few months we still get together. Yeah. And we spend multiple days together and we really build that relationship and that connection. That is actually critical. I think when I define remote, I define that as like, oh, basically you just meet whenever you want versus like living in a place. Yeah. But in actuality, many companies see remote as literally never meet. And that's actually bad at any stage. Yeah. So I think you're right about that. So I'm glad you like said that because that is actually better.
We need to breathe the same air sometimes.
Oh yeah. Like face to face is like real. I mean, like that's like a big reason why I think I felt a little bit of a loneliness in New York. There was no like default founder first community that I could like go to on a day-to-day basis that you can find plenty of here in SF. And you know, that loneliness does breed into like productivity and lack of creativity. And so, you know, creating those opportunities for your employees and it is really important to actually getting their best potential. Yeah,
and like being able to riff with people, right? Kind of like what you said, like honestly just sitting down for 30 minutes and having that like back and forth exchange is so energizing. And for me, it felt like it pushed me for another 6 weeks where I was like, all right, I've like met someone who I can resonate with. They exist in this world. There are other builders out there. Like, let's keep on going.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's kind of like what I was saying, like with our conversation, like I felt that energy. And it's a big reason why I started this podcast because I was like, building shit is hard. And honestly, this podcast gives me energy. Like I have these incredible conversations with you guys who totally inspire me. And then I like take that energy back to my work after on my desk. Like I'm going to go after this. We film this. I'm like go and like go do some work on a Friday evening. Like it's hard to have stamina and motivation to do that. But like this is definitely I'm like going to get me really excited to go back and build shit. So
do you feel like your team really feeds off of your energy? Like you always have to be high spirit, you know, high conviction all the time, or are they like pretty autonomous that they can be like, oh, I'm gonna have like a down day, but we still support the culture in the company? Yeah, I think they are very autonomous and I'm not a big believer of micromanagement, so I like can't bring anyone on my team who like can't fully run on their own, right? And if I had to show up with that energy every single day to my team and then on the podcast and then to my friends and then to my, I like literally not be a person. Like, so I don't do that to my team every day. But if I never show up for them, how are they going to remember the vision and remember to like what they care about and what they are working towards? So it is very critical that I
do spend an equal amount of time building that energy within the community and the broader ecosystem as I do internally, like at my teams, because like ultimately everyone forgets, like no one remembers something forever. So if you're not there as a reminder, and it's actually on the topic of this, like in content creation, right? Like if you're a creator and you get a really like amazing audience and community around what you're saying, and then you just stop creating, you're not relevant anymore. You have to remind people, hey, I exist, this is my message, and whatever, right? So it's like literally the same exact thing. Like as a founder, you're kind of like a creator of your brand, your company, and then like whatever your message is. So it's the same thing.
You're right. Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah, sometimes there's burnout on both sides.
Do you like interact with your community on TikTok ever?
I try to respond to like all comments and messages. I've actually gotten coffee with a few girls now who are also like creators.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really fun. I'm actually getting coffee with a girl next week who just moved here, I think from New York. So that's really fun.
Dang, she came back from New York.
Yeah.
We gotta induct her into that.
Yeah, I'll invite her over. She's also a woman in tech. I forget if she's engineering or not, but yes, I have. But I think in terms of like, I know there are creators who will go like live for hours and just like talk. I do not have that stamina.
I've never done that, but I've gotten feedback. I should.
You should. Oh my gosh, yeah. Like
I
live.
like the energy thing.
Yeah.
But I know I should. I definitely should. I'll do it at some point. Yeah. Have you done it before?
No, I have not. I feel like I need to be really interesting. Like some crazy life story needs to happen.
You are really interesting. Just exist.
Well, maybe we can do one together. That'd be really fun.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm super down.
Yeah, we should do that together. Then we can pull both of our audiences.
Oh, that's so genius. Done.
Yeah.
I love this. Collabs. Cool. Well, so tell me more about like, what are you most excited about joining this new company?
I'm so excited to be confused. I don't know how else to articulate this. I'm really trying to figure out how to articulate this more to like founders I'm talking to when I'm recruiting, but I feel like things have been so well defined for the last 3 years at work that I like really miss the ambiguity. I really miss scrambling around and being like what the hell am I trying to solve? And like working from that, right, to like finding out what problem it is and what the beautiful solution is, and being able to iterate and not having like 10 layers of management telling you like, you know, redefine this 2% better, redefine this like 3% better, or like we're going to push out this release by 6 months because like XYZ politics. I'm really excited to build from scratch, work with people like really deeply, try to understand the customers really deeply, or like whoever it is that we're building for, and learn every day. I feel like I've missed that from college, honestly.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So at everyone listening, if you ever want to work a startup, just say that answer. Because every founder wants to bring on someone who is okay with confusion and excited about confusion, because the number one theme of joining a startup is literally just confusion all day. So yeah, that is the perfect interview answer. And everyone listening.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Not surprised that you literally nailed the job that you wanted in less than 3 weeks. So.
Well, I'm curious for you and like what signal you've gotten here from other founders, because sometimes I'm nervous to say that, because there's like in the back of my mind, I feel like sometimes they're looking for someone to make it less ambiguous, right? So they're looking for someone who's so expert that it'll reduce the ambiguity in the field.
I mean, the person that is going to reduce ambiguity is someone who's excited to reduce that. Who's like excited about that challenge and like is not afraid of confusion. If you're afraid of confusion, it's going to block your creativity and it's going to make you want to like leave the company.
Yeah.
So you just knowing that you're craving that challenge is the literal perfect thing to say. Like, don't hesitate. I feel like I miss that a lot from, because we're still hiring and we're still trying to grow the team, and I feel like I'm finding it very difficult to find the person who doesn't just want to do their job. They're excited about the possibility of solving the unsolved, is what you would say. And on a day-to-day as a founder, that's basically your job, is to like try to basically solve the unsolved, and it's very exhausting. So someone else who like wants to like jump into that deep end with you and like get their hands dirty, like it's like there's only so much energy I can have every day to be like, nothing makes sense, but I'm still like gonna wake up and go do this. So like having someone else who has that like similar delirium, is super motivating for me. And maybe that's selfish. I want more people around me to motivate me, but also that's how you build great teams where people are motivating each other. So it's the perfect answer.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be sure to remember that. I'll listen back to this podcast myself.
Yeah, exactly. So if you could go back in time and you could tell your younger self some advice, what would you tell her?
Oh my gosh. Be riskier and trust in yourself. Like trust that the grit that you have is enough to take you wherever it is that you need to be. And just trust in yourself. You know, like you've gotten so far, and I'm speaking to myself right now, but I'm sure a lot of people can resonate. Like you've gotten yourself out of XYZ situations that seemed impossible. Like carry that spirit, and that will take you a really long distance. Yeah,
that is such great advice. And where can we find you?
You can find me on TikTok under Angie Talks. Can't remember if there's an underscore there or not. And then on LinkedIn, you can find me at Angelina Quach.
Amazing. Well, we will find you there. Thank you for coming to the show.
Yeah, I had so much fun.
For everyone else, we have so many more amazing guests on the way. You have no idea. So stay tuned till the next episode.